Hey everybody, Brandon here. Welcome back to another episode of my Road to Chess Mastery. I am playing in my 12th tournament, and I have won the first 3 games, and I am on a winning streak of 4 games. Now I am playing with the black pieces against Amur, and well, let's see how the game continues here. E4, and what do you guys think I'm going to play? Make sure that if you have seen the most recent videos, you'll know. It is c6. I changed from c5 to c6, and this reflected my style a lot more, where I was playing a lot more endgames or positional games, but let's just say this isn't so positional, or it isn't so slow and boring, to say the least. d4, d5, e5, bishop f5. This is all theoretical. The whole point is you play this d5 idea to really just get this bishop out of the pawn chain. Play e6, and you have a French defense where your bishop is good. Even though it's a bad bishop, because when you look at your pawn structure, they're on light squares, the bishop's on the light square. These pawns restrict the power of this bishop. When you play the French, you have the bishop on c8, and you have played e6, because that's the first move. And well, that bishop is usually a terrible piece, so you want to avoid this at all costs. And this is what appealed to me, playing these lines. And after queen takes e3, I played e6, knight to f3, and realistically, I could have equalized immediately with this nice little trick, queen to a5 check, or after bishop d2, queen to a6. My opponent's pretty much forced to trade queens here because their knight is already developed, and if they move away, then they can't castle short. So this would be a pretty easy way to equalize. Just a nice trick for you guys to know. But okay, after this, I played knight to e7 because I wasn't aware of this. I was still very new to the Caro-Kann, so I was just playing it just a little bit. And this was, again, my second tournament game playing it. So, of course, I'm going to have less experience with this than Sicilian traps. Anyways, castles. Knight to g6. I think this is okay. There's also ideas of knight f5. g4 wouldn't be that great because, well, they just move the pawn in front of their king. We can always move back and play h5. There's a whole thing here, but I play knight to g6. I don't think it's terrible. I think knight f5 is just more appealing to be more aggressive. But knight to c3, bishop to e7, knight to e2, castles, knight to e1, and we see exactly what they're going for. They are trying to crush me on the Kingside. c5, I need to act fast. This is a natural break in this position. Eventually, even though you played c6 early on, you go for c5, you break down the center, and you have weaknesses to target in the center and on the queen side. c3, knight to c6, again trying to put as much pressure on d4 as possible. f4, and queen to d7. This just covers the f5 square just a little bit more. So if they were to take, then I can possibly consider taking. It's already looking a little scary for me though. But after a3, I ended up playing c4. I thought this was an interesting try, but realistically, I think this is a little difficult to play because after you play c4, it's hard to open up the queen side now. So this is very counterintuitive, and I don't think this is the right approach. Queen to c2, knight to a5, going for knight b3, but this doesn't do anything. After bishop b3, b5, knight f3, knight b3. There are some games, I believe, I'm not really sure which champion did, but I think it might have been Lasker. In this position, it's very similar to different ones where you can realistically just sacrifice the exchange here and be okay, because this knight on b3 is just not doing anything. And even after a move like rook b1, what's this knight doing? It's not. It looks impressive, but it's realistically not doing too much, whereas my opponent has a lot of pieces around my king. And f5 is coming very soon. But okay, I played a5 because I thought that a certain defensive move was necessary. Where after knight to g3, b4, well, first off, I need to go for queenside attack. I need to distract them as much as possible, but after takes, my opponent went for f5, and now I'm very scared here, but I took. And after knight takes, I thought that this move was necessary, but I should have preempted it with a different move, and we will go 2 moves or 1 move further, and then go back and explain why. So rook a6 I played, where after h4 I played f6. However, here it's not really that great. Instead, what I should have done here, instead of rook a6, is the immediate f6. Immediately undermines the center, and black is actually probably better here. However, rook a6 looks so natural, right? It just covers the 6th rank. This doesn't do anything. Rook a6, sure, it might have ideas of rook f to a8 or rook to e6, but when you think about it, when you really think about it, this move doesn't do anything at all. And I should have realized this after h4 f6, but this is not really such a great position for me anymore. Just because they have options of h5, or even after f takes e5, which is what I played in the game, they have the move knight takes e7 and knight takes e5. And yeah, here you can clearly see that my opponent has a lot of activity, and this is just very uncomfortable to look at. This is clearly worse for me. But my opponent played differently. They played knight to h6 check. So the whole point is they are able to take my knight. They're just trying to completely ruin my kingside. But this is actually not so bad for me. Even though it looks terrible, because if I take the h-pawn, well, okay, I played e4 first, and they can take on h7, but I was arguing, hey, this is actually pretty closed off now after e4. This doesn't look so bad. And I think I was right with that assessment. I just took on g6 very calmly. I'm happy with my position now. I'm up a pawn, and surprisingly, even though it looks scary and all those moves occurred, I think I'm okay. And I think I might even be better in this resulting position. I think one interesting try might have been maybe something like rook f7 with rook g7, but I'm really not too sure on that, just because after rook f7 is rook f6, followed by a possible rook g7, king h8, and bishop f8. But that's getting a little too complex, I think. Anyways, we should just focus on the actual game. So we see bishop to e3, and I took on c3, of course, because I just thought it was a good move, because now I can open up the second rank with a move like that, like b takes and then just queen to a8 or something. And I think this is what they might have been worried about. So they played queen takes, but this actually helps me a little bit, because now their pawn structure is a little damaged and it could be weak. Whereas b2 is a little bit weaker than the pawn would be on c3, but again, if they took with the pawn, then the second rank is open. So there's pros and cons to both. But alright, I played rook f6. I'm just trying to trade here. I think trading is the right approach. Takes, and I actually am very happy now. I got pretty much everything I needed to out of the position. I'm up a pawn. It's been very complex, but yeah, this is pretty much all you can really ask for here. So then they made a move king to f2, and I think this was a not such a good move. This lets me... This wins the game, realistically. I can't really find a way how this just doesn't win on the spot, and we will get to why in a second. But since I'm up a pawn, if we were to trade queens in this position, I would realistically say the game is over. e5 is pretty much falling immediately. b2 is going to be a weakness, and my king can also enter the game. So I played the move queen to d8, which forces or threatens two things. It threatens queen h4, winning the knight, but it also threatens queen to a5, trading queens. And again, I think both are winning for black. Well, of course, winning knight would be winning, but queen to a5 would also be winning. And this is exactly what I went for, and as far as I can tell, this is pretty straightforward. Knight to e5 did not help their cause. I think they had to really move a different way. But after takes, I took on e5, and this is a very clear win. The whole idea here is, sure, it looks like they might have some play with king e3, but I have this nice tactic here, and I didn't see this in advance. I saw this around here. In this position I saw it, but even here, it should be noted that it's a pawn up, and we can play g5 and just take on e5, and we should be better, or we can just take on e5 immediately, and this pretty much ends the game, because we don't even give them the g-pawn. Unless they take on e5, which liquidates into a pawn ending where we're clearly winning. The whole idea here is after bishop takes e5, we have to move g5 check. And their king is overloaded. They are attacked, and we can deflect their king to g5, win the pawn, and we have to be very careful, make sure we shoulder their king, and now we just promote because we're one move ahead. Whereas before, after king h4, if we play a move like e3, then they can get back, and this isn't so trivial to win anymore. Even though it might still be winning, it's just why even bother when you can just play king f4 and king f3 and we promote, because if they move their king, we just move ours. We're still one move ahead of them. So yep, that's pretty much it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed game number 4, and now we are on a 5-game winning streak, and we have one more game to go over for this tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I think this was a very interesting game, where I realistically should have definitely played f6 early on here, but I was not only new to the Akaro Khan, but I was new to like the ideas of the French defense of playing f6, because f6, as Ben Feingold wrongly says, never play f6. Very bad advice. Never listen to that. But yeah, f6 would have been the saving grace here, and black likely would have been better. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I will see you guys in game number 5. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.